Hi there, my name is Steve Gearhart, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video. I love it that you guys do that, because this is a labor of love for me. So it's a fun thing that I do for myself and for people who are interested. Speaking of being interested in things, yes, I came back from Gen Con yesterday, and if my voice seems a little rough or I'm sneezing, whatever, my apologies. I thought I was able to escape the convention crowd, but it caught up to me. So anyway, this is the review for Gen Con 2025, and as always, I did have a fun time, but let's go ahead and talk about it. And to get you all in the mood of Gen Con 2025, let me play a little video with pictures that I took, video that I took, set the music, just to set the mood for the rest of this video. So as always, I have a good time at Gen Con, and part of the reason why I have such a good time at Gen Con is simply because it's such a well-organized event. Now, this is a very large event. Around 60,000 to 70,000 people show up. in downtown Indianapolis. They take over the Indianapolis Convention Center, Lucas Oil Field. That's where the Indianapolis Colts play. Yes, we actually get to go onto the field. They put plastic over the grass, but in the stadium there as well, and the various hotels that are around the convention center that have skywalks going into the convention center. It is very much a well-planned kind of thing that Indianapolis does, and Gen Con in particular. Gen Con, like I said, is a very well-oiled machine. I have yet to have anything major happen where it wasn't resolved within a matter of minutes and life goes on. They train their people well. Line management is outstanding. They do a thing there because they know the convention is so large that at will call on Thursday and Friday, even on Saturday. Yes, there's will call on Saturday, a lot of it, where they send the line down in a particular direction, but when the hallways intersect, they have enough people there to actually literally direct traffic. Like, they'll stop one side and let the line go through, a certain number of people going through, then they stop, then they let you through. You get the idea. Very well organized. If you go to the website, obviously gencon.com, you will see the catalog of all the things that you can do. Here's the thing about Gen Con. If you sit there and if you've ever been to a convention where you kind of get to it and you're like midday Saturday and you feel like there's nothing left to do, you know how that sometimes happens, right? Not at Gen Con. There is always something to do. There's like, the pretty lady who gives me food said that while I was gone, she kind of looked at, just kind of curious to see what it looked like. And it was like 156 pages worth of stuff that was still going on. That's not even including the events that had already transpired on Thursday and Friday. So she was looking at this on Saturday. 156 pages of stuff to do. So if you like gaming, if you like these kinds of things, it is a wonderful, wonderful convention to go to. Speaking of gaming, what type of gaming? Yes, just gaming. Board games, card games, video games, obviously table role-playing adventures, LARPing, the whole nine yards. There's panels involved about whatever involving the gaming industry. You can demo stuff, so you can sign up to demo new games that people haven't even seen yet or aren't even completed. We did that with Brent and I did that with Riverrun, a Riverrun table role-playing game. And which was a lot of fun, by the way. I got to play a drunk lizard. So to the table at Gen Con that was playing Riverrun, just kind of test playing it. Thank you for letting me play a drunk lizard. That was a lot of fun. But you get the idea. See, you can do a lot of different things. There's BattleTech. There's all sorts of stuff. And if you like genre games like Disney type of games, BattleTech, Star Wars, whatever, there's something there for everyone, literally. And of course, the dealer's room is humongous and it is chock full of stuff. And so you're going to need to have a lot of restraint from not buying all this stuff. I'll show you a little bit of the swag that I got this time around. So for the most part, Gen Con is just this wonderful thing. Now, if you happen to be an anime fan, there are anime panels, but for some reason, this year, Gen Con dropped the anime holder. In other words, they divide things up into different categories so you can find them, right? And they seem to have dropped the anime category even though they had anime panels. So that was a little hard for the anime folks to find, which is kind of weird because there are a crap ton of anime board games, card games, role-playing, whatever. So there's a lot out there. So it was kind of weird to us to see that. So I think what we're going to do next year when we go there and we decide to do anime panels, we're going to title it like in all caps, anime, and then whatever it is that we want to talk about. So yeah, it's otherwise it's pretty much a convention for everyone. And like I said, it spans multiple buildings. So, you have to make sure when you sign up for events that you know where you're going, which is easy to do because there's always a map available at gencon.com. Of course, they have an app that you can put on your phone to help you manage your time there. Very well run. Very well run. if you want to see past videos of my talking about how well run they are in the past, still relevant today. So please, by all means, do so. I had 2 panels there. They were both anime-based panels. One was called The Guns of Tanegashima, which is kind of a historical / anime retrospective on the actual Tanegashima matchlock. That went well. Thank you to those of you who came to the panel. It went well. I think I'm going to improve the panel a little bit more. I think it needs to be more anime-less history, and I think that's where we need to go next time if I decide to do that again. But thank you for all the questions and all the good stuff. So again, it went well. You know, I was happy with the outcome of it. I just think it can be a little bit better. But I did my second panel for the con, which was the music of Cowboy Bebop, the soundtrack OST 1. And I did that at Anime USA last year, and that got pretty well received. And this year was very well received. And a lot of people enjoyed it. I had a lot of questions. I had people coming up to me afterwards and asking me stuff. And that's how I know that I was able to reach people and interest them in a topic that I like, right? And so that was a lot of fun for those of you who are watching this and who are at the panel. Thank you so much for being there and being receptive and asking me questions and generally having a good time. I hope you had a good time, but I think you did. So generally speaking, my panels went fairly well. So I was happy about that. So I'm going to wrap this part of it up. Just real quick about Gen Con. Another fun thing about Gen Con is that you don't need to leave Gen Con to eat food. All right. So not only can you get food from Lucas Oil Stadium, like the actual stadium food, they actually open those things up, but they're in the parking lot, which is blocked off from the rest of the city, and for exclusive use of Gen Con only, is a huge food truck area. And I do mean multiple food trucks, not like 4 or 5 things, which, you know, and it's like, here's your token vegetarian vegan and your hamburger and your thing over here. It was a lot of different stuff. Indiana is a different state, so they were able to serve some alcoholic refreshments, if that is your thing, as long as you're over 21, of course. And so you never have to actually leave the place, and that's kind of nice, knowing that you can go there, eat, not have to worry about leaving the convention and having to come back in, that kind of stuff. It's just all very well contained. So, do I recommend Gen Con? Of course I recommend Gen Con. It's a wonderful thing. Even if you are new to gaming, it's a wonderful place to go, because the other nice thing about Gen Con is that the people there are interested in playing games, and if they need another player, or if they happen to just start a game and you come up, oh, that looks interesting, and I'll have to play that next time, you have a very good chance of somebody just looking up at you and going, "Hi, I'm Steve. You want to play? It looks like you want to play. Why don't you sit down and play with us?" That literally happens. That actually happened to me 2 Gen Cons ago, where we were sitting there, Brent and I were playing a game, and we were kind of like going, okay, this is not really that great. And we had a third guy who came up and said, "Oh, I kind of know this game a little bit, I think. Can I sit in and play with you guys?" Sure. And we had a great time. Met this guy, and we had we've seen him a couple times since, and it was just a great time at Brent's tabletop game, Whispering Road, Ghibli based. If you're going to Gen Con, please keep an eye out for that. He just does one game. It's about 5 seats, so if you like that kind of thing, then jump in on it. But we had a guy from last year come back, bring his wife to play this specific game. So you get the idea. It's very much community. So if you want to be in there and nobody judges you, nobody, no, you don't get judged. I think people get more excited by the fact that you're interested in playing the game more than anything else. And I think the problem you might have is having too many people going, "Oh, if you like this, then you're going to want it," and you might be inundated with a ton of recommendations. But isn't that a pleasant problem to have? Okay, so that's it for that. Let me go into actually some of the games that we played, and I'm going to give you a brief description and what I thought of the games that we played in the game library, and I'll explain the game library at that point as well. All right, so what is the games library? So the games library is set on the field of Lucas Oil Field Stadium where the Colts play. And yes, you actually go down to the field. It's covered in a plastic floor so we don't disturb the grass. But you go towards the back, you go through the championship games, the card games, Magic and Pokemon or whatever. And you go through that and you get back to the end there. And what you need to do is you need to, when you're buying your events or getting your tickets for the event before Gen Con starts, you'll want to buy a day pass for the games library. So if you know you're going to go at least once, pick the day that you want to go on, buy it, and then what they do is they take a look at your badge and they scan your badge and they give you a wristband so that you can go in and out during the course of the day. It's open for about 9 hours. It goes late into the evening. It's a great thing to do when you're done with like other stuff during the day and you just kind of want to sit down and just and do something. So Brent and I usually go in and play these games, and you can find games going back all the way to the 70s, mid 70s, Milton Bradley's the kind of stuff. But it's usually board games, card games, things of that nature. And what you do is then you pick the game that you want to play, and you go up to the front desk and they check you out. They scan the game. They ask you your name, your phone number, so that you don't just walk off with it. And then you sit down and you play, and however long it takes you to play it. That's it. There's no time limit. So the only time limit is how long the game library is open, which is 9 hours. So you and your friends can play that game all night long if you want. So what Brent and I do is we pick a game and that looks interesting to us, check it out, play it, and if we kind of get the rules on the first try playthrough, and if we feel comfortable with it and going on to it, and we'll play another round just as an actual game and contest between the two of us. Dun, dun, dun. Sometimes we'll play through it. We're not sure that we got it, so we'll try another playthrough. And if we feel comfortable with that, then we'll do a third playthrough. And that gives us an idea of like what this game is and how we can talk about it and things like that. So a lot of people come down there to do the thing, and it's a lot of fun. So if you really like board games, card games, those kinds of things, this is a nice way to scratch that itch. Now, what's interesting is that this year we actually saw Prozid. He does he's a voice actor and he has his own YouTube channel, and PROZD. And he was with a group of friends and playing a game, and we happened to see him. He does the voice of the dwarf in Delicious in Dungeon anime. So Brent and I were just like, do we go over there? Do we go over there? Do we talk to him? Do we fanboy? Do we do the thing? And we decided to let it, he was in the middle of playing with his friends. So we decided not to bother him. But it was kind of neat to see that kind of thing. So that was a lot of fun. So here are the games that we checked out and that I want to tell you about. A place for all my books. We really enjoyed this game. This was a fun game. This is one of those games where you're not actively trying to screw the other person over, right? There is only one thing within the game where you can push someone out just because there can only be one person in the bookstore at any given time. So if you happen to land there and somebody's already in there, you can push them out. But it's designed in such a way that it's just spacing kind of thing, and just kind of not even how to disrupt somebody else's turn. It's just that's how you get into the bookstore. And so otherwise you have these cards that you play. It's cards, a dice, and what you're trying to do is stack books in your apartment, and you're given challenge cards. Some are major challenges, some are minor challenges. And for each challenge that you're able to complete, you get points, and the person who has the most points at the end of 13 rounds, I think, wins. Okay. And so it's kind of fun because it's like color coded. It's, yellow, green, blue, and different rooms, bedroom, kitchen, den, bathroom, or something like that. And there's a nightstand, and there's a way that you can buy the books, but you have to wait a turn to bring your books inside. Yada, yada, you get the idea. And so you get these things where it says, okay, you need 3 stacks of all blue books, 3 high. So that might be one challenge. So it's just a fun thing and then you accumulate energy points, which means that, you know, you get the energy to actually do these things. And then there's a fun game mechanic where once you complete, like, you know, like say you get the 3 all stacks of all blue books 3 high, in order to collect the points, then on your next move you have to go to this thing, admire, where you sit there and you just admire your handiwork. You know how that is, like when you in real life, when you set up books and you like you readjust your bookshelf and you just have to sit there and you admire it for a few minutes. You're just like, oh, I did that. It looks good, doesn't it? So, you know, it's that kind of thing. And it's a very light game, fun game. Again, it's not a game of how do you prevent somebody else from winning, but rather a game of how do you organize, how well do you organize, and in what time period do you organize in. So you know, it's kind of that mental acuity that you use to try and win the game and get as many points. A very fun game. Very relaxing game. This is not like diplomacy where you lose friendships over. Okay, so again, we recommend this one. This was a really nice game to play. All right, Doctor Who, Time of the Daleks. So if you're a Doctor Who fan, obviously this is going to appeal to you. We both, Brent and I, are very much fans of Doctor Who. Actually, somebody cosplayed as the Tom Baker Doctor Who, so that was kind of cool. So we picked this game out when we set it down and we put it together, and it took us a while to figure it out. And once we started playing, you know, of course we play it through to learn how to actually play the game, and it was very, very difficult. And then we tried a second round through it, and we were just playing it, and it was very convoluted. Like you had to solve one thing to be able to solve another thing to be able to solve another thing. So it's very much a Doctor Who episode because that's kind of how they run. And so it's very Doctor Whovian. But when you're playing with 2 people, you are basically, it's set up that you can't win. I mean, it's not intentional that you can't win, and I suppose you could win after 3 hours of playing, but we didn't want to do that. So when we repacked up the game, and we were kind of like going, this feels like this could be a fun game, and we kind of looked up at, you know, like on Reddit and some other reviews and things like that. It pretty much, we got that confirmation, which was, if you're trying to play with 2 people, don't play with at least 3 people. 4 people is best, and that way the game moves far more quickly, and you have a very good chance of actually winning the game. Now, the interesting thing about the game, again, is that you're not trying to screw over your fellow doctors, because you actually have 4 different doctors you can choose from. The original First Doctor, War Doctor. There's a couple. I forget which ones there were, but you're not out to screw each other over again. This is not one of those games. You're trying to stop the Daleks from taking over, right? Taking over Gallifrey. And so, you know, you work together. As a matter of fact, there are game mechanics to help each other out in what you're trying to do. So that was... if you like playing those kinds of games, I can totally see how 4 people playing this game would have a great time. But if you're going to play this game, that's what you need to do. So I wish we had a couple other people. We were playing this pretty late at night, so it was kind of hard to find someone else. But if you come across this game and you have a couple other people who are fans of Doctor Who, and the 4 of you want to play the game, I think you're going to have a good time. Sergio Garnasis, I think I'm saying that name correctly, grew the game. So if you're familiar with the tongue-in-cheek parody of Conan the Barbarian called Gru the Wanderer, Sergio did this. Cuban Exile did this cartoon of this hapless samurai who was actually a great warrior but really dumb, and whenever he tried to do something, he would just lay waste to everything around him. And it's just, the comics are just really, really entertaining. They're late 90s, late 80s, early 90s kind of stuff. And for those who are comic book fans, know what I'm talking about. If not, go online, take a look at Gru the Wanderer, see if you can find some online examples of it, and you'll see what I mean. And this game is every bit as chaotic as the comic is, and that's the whole point. As a matter of fact, one point the game just says, by the way, if there's any interpretations of the rules and you just don't know, whatever the card says. That actually happened to us during the gameplay, and we're just like, what does the card say? Okay, I guess we just do the card. So it's a combination of card and dice, and the dice have symbols on it, supplies, a person, coppins, which is the gold coins in the Gru universe, and Gru's head itself. And so the cards. So the idea is that you do a roll and you see what the roll gives you, and you can either build a town like in your hand of cards. If you have the resources from the dice, you can make a building of type, a library, an armory, a distillery, I think, a shipyard, things like that. So you can make a town, and then you can also make an army to defend it. But you have to be able to have the resources to do it. So it's like about a 5-step round for each person. And if you get the Gru head, what that means is that if you have Gru cards in your hand, what those are actually his action cards. So wherever Gru is in, whichever town he happens to be in, you can play that card, and whatever havoc he wreaks in that town. So if it says Gru destroys 3 buildings, then you have to take away 3 buildings, or however many points. Or if the Gru joins the army and destroys it, you have to destroy your army. So you can also attack another town with your army going up against them. The mechanic for that is very simple. You just add up all the attack points, and if there's a difference, like if you defeat the people, then your victory points are the difference between the two. So like if you attack with 10, they have 5, so the difference is 5, so you get 5 points. For every building you destroy however many points that building is worth. Depending upon how many players you have, which can be up to 4. You have also another dice that you use, which is which direction does Gru move in. So Gru is always moving around, so he can be in your town, he can be in somebody else's town. You can have a card where you can put Gru in somebody's town, and then hopefully you'll have another card that you can play to wreck whatever it is that you want to wreck in their town. So the idea for 2 people, for a 2-person game, is that if you get first person to reach 10 victory points, wins the game. It is wonderfully chaotic. It actually took us a while to get through a playthrough because things just kept happening. Like you build something up and then you get a card that says, oh yeah, take away your entire army. And you're like, oh, okay. And you have to rebuild your whole army. Or Gru comes in and goes, yeah, he destroys your shipyard. Oh, okay. And, that kind of thing. It's a very fun game to play. I would think that even though we had a good time between the 2 of us, again, I think this is a better game for multiple players. So if there's 3 or 4 of you and you want to play this game, please do. And also check out the comic. It is really, really quite humorous, Gru the Wanderer. So yeah, give it a go. Check it out. Let's go to Japan. This has turned out to be a really great game once we learned how to play it and started, did the final playthrough. So be patient with the game at first. It's a little hard. The directions are a little difficult to interpret. So the best way to learn how to play the game is to go ahead and set it up and do a trial run and just read the directions as you're playing and make sure you understand what you're doing. It's not that it's a complex game, it's just that it's not explained very well. But once you understand what you're doing, oh my goodness, is this a fun game. It's basically what you're doing is it can be anywhere from 2 to 4 players, and the idea is that you're setting up your itinerary. Like the first phase of the game is literally setting up where you're going. You're going back and forth between Kyoto and Tokyo, and it's you set up it during the course of a week, okay, and you set up your itinerary of the things that you want to do, and you have cards and you have tokens that you move, and it's about 13 rounds again for this one. And then once you set up the first phase of basically drawing cards, exchanging cards, right? You don't just discard to the pile. You actually give another player your cards, and you just follow that directions, and they show it to you on there. So that's kind of nice. And so then once that part of the round is that first phase is done, then you actually go day by day, and that's how you start racking up the points. And what we thought was kind of fun was that, at the end of the round, we would say to each other, okay, so this is what I did on Monday for my trip, and we read through the cards of where we visited and what we did, and that was it's kind of weirdly fun. So again, I wish I could do this a better justice in explaining it, but I will tell you that if you want to play this game, please do. It is actually very much quite the fun thing to do, especially if you're wanting to go to Japan or you're thinking about you're actually going to go to Japan. So this is just an interesting game to play, and by the time we learned how to play it, we actually played a couple times, and it was fun. It was fun. You should try it. It's good. It's good. For the last game that we played before we left the con was this card game called Spicy. The cards are just as beautiful as the outside packaging is. I mean, this is just a beautifully made game. It just on looks. You almost just want to buy it just because it's just so pretty. But the way the game is played, it's very simple. It's absurdly simple, but it works so well. So you get 5 cards or 6 cards, and the idea is that you put a card face down, and you go, okay, this is the 7 of chilies. So you have playing cards that go from 1 to 10. You have a pepper, a chili, and a wasabi, and those are your houses, right? And so you place the card face down. And you can say, like I said, 7 of chilies, but it could be a 1 of wasabi, but you don't say it. What you're doing is you're bluffing the other person. And the first one has to start between, actually I got this wrong. You have to start between 1 and 3. So you put your first card down. It can be a 7 of chilies, but you would say, oh, it's a 1 of pepper. And then someone else would put another card down saying what they say it is. And they can actually say what the card is, or they can say something else. And so then it's up to you to decide whether or not they're bluffing, and then you call them out. And when you call them out, you say, "I challenge," and you challenge either the house of the card. So if you don't think it's a wasabi card, then you have to say, you have to say it's not wasabi. Or if you challenge it and you say the number, and if someone says this is a 7 of chilies, I don't think that's a 7, and so you challenge. And if you win, you get this person's cards, and the points. The more points you get, the quicker you win. The other person then has to keep drawing 2 more cards, and then it goes on like that. And that's literally it. Now, what's interesting is that there's one card where it says how many players do you have? 2, 4, and 6. And so what you're supposed to do is take the entire deck, place it down, and then take this card that has a little notches on it that says 2, 4, and 6. Boom, you put it there, and you take, so if you're taking 2 players, you only go to that notch, and you take that amount of cards, and that's all you play with. So once you get to the end of that deck, the game is over, you count up the points, and there you go. So, fun game, absurd. Those rules sound really simple, don't they? It's a beautiful game, beautifully drawn cards. Just beautiful and so simplistic. And this falls under the category of sometimes some of the best games are just the most simplest of games. And we really enjoyed. We played like 2 or 3 rounds of this after we figured out how to play it, which took us all of 60 seconds, I think. I will confess that I did kind of screw up every now and again, but it's a really fun game. This is also one of those games where you can put it in the car, right? You can play in the car, and that's kind of cool too. So those were the games. Those were the games that we played some of the games that we played that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and hope this sparks your imagination, or maybe you want to play these particular games. We shall see. Let me know if you are familiar with any of these games, and if you like them or not. No trolling, please. But yeah, let me know what you thought. All right, the last thing I want to talk about Gen Con is the swag that I got. A little bit of the swag that I got here. So as I said before, the dealer's room, the exhibit room is amazing. You can find everything there: board games, figurines. If you're a Warhammer kind of guy, those kinds of games, you're definitely gonna find some of those. Oh, by the way, there are entire rooms where people play the war games and set up the villages and things like that. It's just amazing. So there's that. There's the card games. There are individual, mom and pop kind of gaming companies that are there. Very specific gaming specifics. You can buy T-shirts, all that good stuff. You can, of course, buy the mugs, the dice, and all that. There is one anime-specific store that's always been there since I've been going there, starting, I think this is my 5th year, actually. And they're always there, and they're fun. But you can also find the big guys, Bandai, stuff like that. As a matter of fact, Bandai this year doubled down only on the Gundam card game and did a preview of the model game Gunpla that's going to be coming up in 2026. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, you can find a whole bunch of stuff. Now there's one particular vendor that I go to, then they always set up in the same place at the far end towards the left-hand corner. And they have the dungeon crawl games. They have all that stuff. And they're just a fun group of people. And that's also where I pick up my guilty pleasure of pulp fiction books as well. And they have just such an eclectic number of things. So if you're looking for something odd, one-shots and things like that, go to this place. Go to that particular one. But for now, I'm going to show you what I got. So what did Steve get at Gen Con? So this is kind of fun. Well, first of all, let me show you, just kind of give you an idea of the quality of Gen Con in general. This was the cover of this year's program. Is that beautiful or what? I mean, geez, right? So again, as I'm down with these guys, looking at it, and they give away free stuff. So one of the booth ladies gave me this. It says only $2, but it was actually free. And it's an actual the Red Dragon's treasure map, so it's an actual adventure. And then another girl came out and goes, "Do you know how to play it? Have you ever played Dungeon Crawls before?" I'm like, "No." "Well, here's a quick starter guide." So he handed me this. So so the quick start rules. So this ought to be fun learning how to play, because I've never done the Dungeon Crawls before. What is the other thing that I got here? Other things. Oh yes, this. So one of the first games that I played when I went to Gen Con for the first time that I really, really liked is a game called Kodama, the Tree Spirits. And it's a game where you play, it's a card game where you use, where basically you kind of make a tree with these cards and you collect points, kind of thing. My niece is coming up this weekend, excuse me. And I'm thinking that she might like to play this with me, hopefully. So we'll see. But even so, if you see this out in the world, and you want a fun little game to play, that's a good thing to have. So the other thing that I got from that particular table of wonderfully dungeon crawl games and my 3 pulp fiction books that I bought, because I'm such a collector. This one is Poul Anderson, The Byworlder. Worlder, I think is how you say it. So there you go. Interesting thing. And let's read it back here. Skip Wayburn, artist drifter Sigaroon, gulped down his food with nothing on his mind but a long evening of lovemaking. How can you not buy a book where the back says something of that nature? So yeah, it's Pulp Fiction, so it's pretty bad. We got an Andre Norton that might be familiar to some people, and I literally got this because of the cover of it. I mean, it has a Native American Indian with a ray gun, and just weird things going on. And it's called The Defiant Agents. I literally got it just for the cover. Here we have a distant plan on which both the U.S. and USSR are populating the colonists in a hypnotic state of regression back to their ancestors. The Russians reliving the Mongol hordes of Genghis Khan. The Americans, all Apaches, recreating the days of when they were a proud warrior race. The conflicts of these groups with each other and nature on a hostile planet with the Russian puppet masters with an even more dangerous force from beyond the stars makes for a fine heroic narrative, imaginative, inventive, told with a compelling pulse of the true storyteller. And that's from the New York Herald Tribune. So yes, there we go. Cold War kind of weirdness. And then the last one I got was by Frederick Brown, Rogue in Space. Very simple. Here, sorry. There you go. Very simple. 2 sentences on the back here. Call him Craig, misfit, loner, thief, killer. He's been a spaceman once and had been and has. Let's try that again. Sorry, I should probably put on my glasses. All right, one more time with feeling. Rogue in space. Call him Craig, misfit, loner, thief, killer. He'd been a spaceman once and had a metal hand to show for it. Ooh. He knew good from evil, but cared not a grain of Martian sand for either, until Rogue met Rogue. So yeah, how can you not buy something like that? All right, that was this quick and ugly swag. I actually got other stuff for the pretty lady who got me food. A couple t-shirts and a wood imprint from a scene from Lady Hawk. For those of you who know what that is, then you know why I bought it. All right, so that is it for the swag, and yeah, I think that's going to be it for this week. And I had a great time at Gen Con, as always. So Gen Con 2025, all of you who worked there, who volunteered, did the work, and all the good stuff, thank you so much again for such a great convention, and well-run convention, easy convention. When you're a panelist, they take care of you, which is nice. They actually have somebody coming in periodically going, you okay? You okay? Everything's all right? And so that's always nice. The people at the game library, you guys are awesome. I mean, these people, like, literally, when you check the game back in so they can do it, they actually open it up and make sure all the pieces are in there. Like, they actually have a sheet that says, okay, this is what's supposed to be in it, and they check it out and make sure all the pieces are in there. Oh, all right. Kudos to you guys. All the food trucks, wonderful. And even the unsung hero of every convention, the guy who had the poor noob volunteer who has to carry around the sign, end of line. Dude, you are a hero. You rock. Thank you so much for your efforts. I hope you had a good convention as well. So yes, Gen Con, should you go? Yes, you should. Again, had a great time. Brent, thank you as always for talking me into going to it these 4 or 5 years ago. I'm having a great time. All right, guys, see you next week. I'll probably have an anime review for you. And as always, stay healthy because I love you guys and I want to see you out in the wild. And as always, watch more anime.